What happens when two dudes, one a retired Navy SEAL commander in Colorado Springs, and the other a hippie meditation teacher in New York City, get together to discuss living mindfully? That's a great question, because we don't know what will happen either. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with co-hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Each week, we take an authentic dive into how mindfulness continually impacts our lives, deepens our relationships, and allows us to be emotionally alive. We filter all of our conversations through the man box, where we unpack how as men we are expected to act in society, how fighting the authentic human experience is exhausting and damaging, and how mindfulness can help. If you would like to listen live, join Will and John every Friday at 12:30 Eastern Time on IG Live at handle @WillNotFear. We take each IG episode and upload them straight to this podcast. So happy you're tuning in to Men Talking Mindfulness. Now, on to the show. Hey, happy Friday. Friday, 12:30 Eastern Time. And guess what time it is? It is Men Talking Mindfulness. Welcome to the show once again. We're excited to be here. Note, John might be a little late. He's at the DMV. You know, life goes on. He's at the DMV in Colorado, I guess taking care of his new house and addresses and stuff like that. So it's just going to be me for a little bit of time. I'm excited to be here with all of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. We are on, hey Karen, good to see you. We're on part 3 of meditation misconceptions. The response has been wonderful to this series already. In this series, and you can go back and drop into that conversation if you want to go a little bit deeper into it on episode part 1 and part 2. In part 1, we talked about I can't meditate because I'm too busy, so maybe check that out on part 1 of this series, Meditation Misconceptions. We also talked in part 1 about meditation is stopping your thinking, and that's a very common misconception that people have about meditation, and John and I dive in and debunk some of those things. And then in part 2, this was last week, whatever date that was November, well, I don't know what it was, it wasn't November 1st. Anyway, you got the point, right? I think it was the 30th of October, day before, yeah, thanks, Rob. So then last week we tackled meditation is religious. That's interesting. Levitating during meditation. That's always an interesting idea that we can elevate our consciousness enough that we can levitate off of this physical plane. Like amazing stuff. We talk about that. Meditation is relaxing. Is in part 2 as well. And the last piece is meditation should be practiced in silence. So if you want to go back and revisit, because today in part 3, we're going to tackle a few more questions about meditation and their misconceptions. We'll see. John just sent me a message. He should be on maybe in the next couple minutes. But I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm actually going to put in my earpods. Oh, there he is. So John, right on time this guy is happening with John. And I think I'll be able to do this. Oh, there he is. There we go. Request for everybody listening and tuning in and being patient with us. And here comes my co-host, compadre, John McCaskill, coming from outside, I guess, the DMV. There he is. Hey, John. I think it looks like you're laughing. Are you okay?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Well, I'm glad you joined in, man.
Yeah.
And tell us what, you sent me a message and was like, practicing my mindfulness, breathing as I get a little nervous so describe what that experience, mindfulness in the moment.
So perfect. So I showed up this morning at like 8 o'clock to do my DMV appointments to finally get everything done in Colorado. Half of that didn't get done, which normally would cause me some frustration. And the other half did get done, but it took forever. And literally just walked out. I'm sitting in the parking lot of the DMV right there. And as I'm sitting there, because you and I are both very calendar
Mm. Oh,
We live and die by our calendar.
yeah,
And
very true.
yeah, so I know that this happens at 10:30 my time, 12:30 your time on Friday. I'm
Mm.
like, I'm starting to get a little anxious. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting anxious about a show. I'm getting anxious about DMV bumping up against that show, and that show is based on mindfulness. So why don't I practice what I'm about to talk about? So I just sat there with my beautiful bride next to me, and
Oh,
I was just like, hey, you know what? I'm just going to take some deep breaths, and I'm just going to calm down. And I tell you, it was the trick I needed, man. I just realized I got this mask around my neck. Let me take that off. Um, so yeah, it was the trick that it did the trick.
right.
Really helped calm me down. Your text also helped calm me down and just like, hey man, we got this. And
Yeah,
there's no reason to really be anxious about something like this. There's no reason to be anxious about the DMV. You know, the people are doing their jobs the best that they can. There's certain things that they have to check and whatever, and there's no reason to get upset about it. And
right.
and just taking that few breaths made me realize all that. Okay, you know what?
Mm.
Will has got this. If I'm late for the show, he's going to cover the first few minutes, whatever. And these people behind the counter are doing the best that they can. So have some compassion for them, which we've talked about in the past.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'm still human, and those
yeah.
emotions come just like we've spoken about also in the past. And
Mm. Mm.
luckily, I have those tools. So hopefully, the listeners
Yeah,
realize those tools do really change the way that you think about your day,
yeah,
change the way that you feel about your day, and physiologically change the way that you physiologically feel.
yeah.
Um, so I
Beautiful.
felt a lot better coming out of that, out of the DMV. I felt a lot better in the DMV once I actually got to the counter because I had practiced. I was a lot more compassionate with the people behind the counter.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, all around it was a good practice in what I preach. So here I am,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and mindfulness in action, like right here, like I mean, running into the show. I mean, thank you for a great example of like how, and really what I like what you said, John, is that whole compassion piece. Because if I can be more compassionate, and like go a little easier on myself and be like, oh my God, fuck, 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 and that whole, fuck, 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 just like everybody, everything's a problem. But by taking a couple breaths and kind of reminding ourselves, well, this is like how life is sometimes.
Yeah,
And then everything else probably went a lot smoother, as
totally did.
well.
Totally did. And
Yeah.
the fact that I was there with my wife, right? Like
Mm.
I'm getting anxious, and of course that energy bleeds over, and the last thing I want to do is make my wife anxious. So being
Yeah.
able to decompress and just reset, just it's going to make for a better day for her when I mean she's leaving in a different car, but
Yeah.
it's going to make for a better day for her, and then it's going to make for a better day for me as well. So yeah, man.
Yeah.
So and we can talk about the misconceptions
Congratulations. A
there.
victory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally a
Yeah.
victory,
I,
man.
before you jumped on, I just kind of loaded up like where we have what we talked about with the misconceptions in part one and part two. I haven't teased at all like what we're going to talk about today.
Good.
But I would love the opportunity, John, to calm your ass down with some breathing and then we'll
Yeah,
jump
yeah.
into the show. So,
Perfect.
we're going to we're going to do a simple breathing technique. I think we've worked with this one on the show before. A really simple, relaxing triangular breath. Try means three. So three parts of this breath. We're going to inhale, like working for that really big volume of breath for 5 seconds. We're going to hold that breath for five, gently release that breath for 5 seconds, and we're going to repeat that triangle just 5 times. And well, let's just jump in. So find your seat, everybody. So get comfortable. Take a moment. You can kind of relax your jaw, maybe wiggle your head a little side to side, let the shoulders relax. Know that you're in a good space, a safe space. And let's just start with a beautiful exhale. Good. Take a big inhale and just tap it in, let the breath go. You know, before I do a meditation, before a breathing technique, I just want to be able to feel and tap into the experience of my breath. Let's do a few more. Inhale. Exhale. Yeah, that's it. Let's do a couple more. Bigger breath if you can. Big giant balloon in the entire torso. Exhale, let it go. Good, good. One more. Let go, 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 go. And before we begin the breathing, I just want you to take, I love the way you put it, John, that internal selfie. Just take a little snapshot of how you're feeling right now. No judgment, no biases. Be with what is. Just take an inventory of how the most prominent emotional experience you're having right now. Don't fight it, don't push away, don't resist, just be with what is. Good. Let's begin the breathing. So let's exhale the breath out. That's it, good. Let's take a big inhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold breath. 5, 4. Exhale gently. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Big inhale. 5. Hold 5. Exhale 5. Yeah, you can breathe out through the nose or out through the mouth, your choice. We got a couple more rounds. Inhale big for 5. Proactively pulling that breath in, holding that breath here at the top for 5. Exhale gently. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We got a couple more rounds. Maybe take a bigger, more proactive inhale. Bigger, bigger balloon. Hold the breath and just feel your sit bones, feel your body for a moment as we hold for 2, 1. Exhale 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very nice. One more inhale. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold 5, 4, 3, 2. Exhale. Easy. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Very nice. Smooth inhale. Smooth exhale. See, and maybe it hasn't changed, but just take that internal inventory emotionally again. How are you feeling just in 2 minutes or less, just by doing that triangular breath? What is your emotional experience now? Great. When you're ready, you can open your eyes. Woo, yeah, chilling out some of the heat, huh?
Yeah, that was good, man. Thank you. I like
No,
that.
you're,
I've never
yeah,
done the triangle breath. I've done,
yeah, yeah.
box breathing that we've done in the
Mm-hmm,
past.
mm-hmm,
And when I've taught the box breathing to some folks, they've always said, "Hey, you know what? Where I struggle is on the after the out breath, holding that 5 or 6 seconds prior to the next in breath.
mm.
I like the triangle because you don't have that holding at the bottom, so
Yeah,
there's not that uncomfortable physical sensation that
yeah,
sometimes can come with the box breathing. I like box
yeah.
breathing. Don't get me wrong,
Me
but
too.
I'm going to start using that triangle breathing, man. I
Yeah,
like that a
triangle's
lot.
nice. Triangle's really
Yeah,
nice. So, yeah, go ahead. Hey, we learned something today, right? And that's
yeah,
and I'm sure hearing that from you, I'm sure it's encouraging to everybody out there listening that oh my God, this thing really works.
yeah.
So, great. Good to be back on this topic. How about I
By the
run
way, man,
down?
hold
Yeah,
on before we get into
please.
you look great, man. You're all dressed up. You're all fancy, man. Holy
Some
cow.
days I'm like, you know what? I never get to wear these clothes anymore because I'm always home, So
Yeah,
thank you very much for noticing, John. I
tighten up,
appreciate
man.
that.
Yeah. I've got this button up Western shirt going on. look like
There
a
you go.
cowboy. I guess
Oh
I
yeah.
was
I think what works for
Colorado
us
scene a little
is this contrast, like the military SEAL and the hippie in New York. Like it's just like a
That's right.
beautiful yin and yang.
Yeah.
Yeah, the plaid to like the more Banana Republic kind of shirt or something. But fun. And honestly, John, part of like being more mindful, I feel when I put a button down, I feel different.
Yeah.
I feel like a
Yeah.
little bit, there's something, or like also the same thing when I put on a nice pair of shoes, and when
Yeah.
I say this, not to make this about me, but like, to really, what we do, how we wear things, what we wear, it really it can create an emotional experience or like a platform that either can like pull us down, build us up. So these are little tricks that I've learned. Like I love wearing a
Yeah.
nice pair of shoes when I go out. I'm like, oh fuck, like I'm all, something's going on different today. It's weird. I mean, it's strange to talk about it in some ways, but like it really makes a difference to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's experience for other people out there, but
Oh, 100%, man. And
yeah,
that's a big point. Actually, it's kind of tied to this whole conversation here in a weird
yeah,
way. But
yeah.
with working from home being much more commonplace right now,
Mm,
remote,
mm.
and if you're Zoom calling and you only have to put on a shirt and maybe you're hanging out in your underwear and flip flops below, there's that blurring between home and work,
Yeah.
and sometimes that can be tough mentally, and
Hmm. Hmm.
throwing on a nice shirt, nice pair of pants, nice pair of shoes,
Yeah.
showering.
Yeah. I didn't do that today. I didn't do that. You caught me, John. I didn't shower yet today.
It can really change your mindset and
Yeah.
set you up for a different trajectory for the day. But yeah, misconceptions, man. Sorry, I did get
No, no,
sidetracked.
not at all. Not at all. And that's what this conversation is about. That's what the show is about so much, is mindfulness and mindset.
Yeah,
So if you can do a little simple hack of like putting on a nice shirt, like fuck, like why not?
yeah.
Um, so great, good lead in. I love it. Really good lead in. So I'm gonna run down our little list. And please, anybody out there listening, like Karen, if you have a misconception out there, I know I'm calling you out, Karen. If you have a misconception out there about meditation, like please plug it in. I'm going to run them down first, so just listen before you go writing, because this is like I really love debunking a lot of these misconceptions with John. So here we go. Here's our talking points today. I can't meditate because I'm too anxious. That's a big one. I've heard that from many people. Hopefully, we'll get into also meditation isn't working if my mind is wandering. Another one is meditation is self-indulgent, which is interesting right now, right? So is showering. The meditation makes you, well, just saying, meditation makes you weak. Like that's a good one, and you must sit to meditate. John, pick one. Where would you like to start?
Yeah. So I'm too anxious to meditate, and my mind is wandering. I think those are two that we can probably cover at once because there's a lot of overlap
Yeah,
there. But I'll
yeah,
start specifically with the being anxious. I mean, being too anxious to meditate, that in and of itself is a sign that you need it. I mean,
right.
just like I just went through. Hey, I'm at the DMV. I'm anxious because these people aren't moving as fast as I think they should be moving. Who
Right.
am I to say how fast they should be moving? First
Yeah.
of all, are they going to come into my office and say, "Hey, John, you're not moving fast enough"? I mean,
Right.
who am I to say that? First of all,
Right.
and then second of all, the anxiety about my schedule and sticking to my schedule.
Mm.
That anxiety proved to me that I needed to meditate, and afterwards, I was that much more relaxed.
Mm.
After meditation, I was that much more compassionate with my fellow human being. I was that much more focused and in the moment with my wife. I mean, the fact that I was sitting there with my beautiful bride in the DMV, hey, how great is that? The fact, hey, we got a date morning at the DMV together.
Yeah, and you're
So
starting a new life together. You know what I mean? Like a
yeah,
whole new. I mean, it's like you could like that's a great. It's a good point. Like we can begin to filter and process. Regardless of I'm sorry, there's a giant alarm outside that's fucking with me. I'm staying focused. Sorry.
stay focused. Stay
Yeah,
focused.
I know. We could. We can bring into it's like, what are the gifts of this moment? Like, I mean, you're with your wife, you're changing your registration, you just got a house. I mean, what an amazing, joyous time instead of, going to anxiety and which leads to stress and negative
Yeah.
mindset, like, oh, fuck, that whole, those limitations that come with that,
Yeah.
that mindset.
So
This
I
is
think,
like, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I think if you are anxious and you think that being anxious is going to limit you from meditating, or that you can't meditate because you're anxious, give it a shot. Give it a
Yeah.
shot.
Yeah.
And that'll change that anxiety. That'll change how you're feeling about things. And then you'll see that being anxious doesn't preclude you from meditating. As a matter of fact,
Mm.
it shows you that you probably need more of this in your life.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like I have some friends here in New York, and this is lady for two female friends that have expressed this to me. Um, that I mean, this exact concept. I can't meditate because I'm too anxious, and that's like that's very strange to me because meditation is the process of getting to know mental states, which are, states of thought, cycles of thinking, triggers of anxiety. And if you don't sit and meditate, which is a self-reflective practice, how else are you ever going to create that distance from anxiety, create that distance from the emotional turmoil and drama that anxiety brings, and then the thinking, and like without meditation, I think it's so could be so impactful for people that are too anxious. And yeah, and these same people, like I've invited them to my class. They've took the plunge and came into a meditation class, like just a meditation class, and it was very, very difficult for people to sit with their thoughts, because it's I mean, they're creating more anxiety. Anxiety comes with kind of what you're experiencing at the DMV, that rush. I got to do something about it instead of just sitting with it and
Yeah.
using the meditation practice to become aware of that mindset, almost like it's a bubble. Like we can like kind of like it kind of comes up into our mind and we can begin to objectively observe, right? Oh, that's my anxiety and here I am. So we're
Yeah.
not attached to it, right? Like but that's another thing about anxiety is our relationship to it. If we're constantly driven by, and I would even say relationship, it's almost an addiction in some ways. Because if that's the way we're used to continually processing the world through stress and anxiety, it is tough. I mean, just think about, like an addict of anything. Like, we know that that's not, I mean, we know that that's not healthy for us at all.
Yeah.
And we try to take steps to, we go to rehab or, other things to kind of, or to deal with this addiction. And anxiety is no different. Like if we're used to constantly, or if we grew up with a lot of stress and anxiety in our house, or if we have a collective of people around us that are always stressed, this could be at the office, this could be at home, like it's going to be tough to realize or to create that distance from and the relationship and that addiction to anxiety. But meditation, we can begin to flip the script by becoming more objectively aware of what is triggering our anxiety. What are the cycles of thought that continually roll and roll and roll that can create more anxiety, more stress, more emotional like wear and tear in the moment on ourselves physically, emotionally. So that's I think what I will offer to people that are too anxious. I think a breathing meditation would be great. And the breath, like we talk about so much, like we just experienced at the top of this podcast, will calm us down, get us into that relaxation, parasympathetic part of our nervous system so we can feel more expansive instead of contracting and folding into the problems that anxiety brings to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Absolutely, man. And
yeah,
you hit on a couple great points there, and well, you hit on a ton great points,
Yeah.
but it's
No, I'm
one
with
that
you. No. Yeah.
I'm gonna jump on
Yeah.
is,
Please.
you aren't your anxiety,
Boom.
and how important that is. Because a lot of the time people are like, oh man, I'm anxious. And then they start getting anxious about being anxious. And it's just the spiral that just builds on itself. And they start beating
Yep.
up on themselves. They're like,
Right.
I shouldn't be anxious. I'm guilty for being anxious, or I
Yep.
feel guilty for being anxious. It's just
Mhm.
this like constant negative self-talk.
Yeah.
And that comes full circle to the other question.
You cut out a little bit, John. Still freezing. So I imagine you're going to work with coming full circle of my mind is wandering is what I would think. I'll just give another moment here before before I continue. Anyway, so yeah, like it's just to kind of tap onto that second, and if you need to dump there, he'll come back in a second. So we're going to keep rolling. John's coming back, having some connection problems. This kind of what we just talked about with anxiety kind of leads us into that next point, which I'm not meditating if my mind is wandering. And same concept here. The meditation practice and mindfulness is all about becoming more aware of our human experience. John tapped on in the beginning. He's like, we are not just our mind, we're our body, we're emotions. We're this triad of experience, of human experience. And the more we become aware by actively meditating, actively becoming more mindful, actively taking steps to pursue more mindfulness, we become aware of thinking that creates the emotional stress or anxiety, and that has a big physical a problem within us as well. So, and it's like people kind of box meditation in with this whole idea of, well, I'm not meditating if my mind is wandering. And that comes back to that misconception that we hit in part one. It's like uh, meditation is all about blanking your mind. No, that's definitely not it. Again, it's all about becoming aware. And meditation is a contemplative, take your own time come back into the inner experience. Life is generated from the inside out, right? And if we're constantly living externally and trying to on the external side of things, always trying to live up to the expectations of others, or I'm getting distracted because I'm wondering when John's coming back, so I'm not being super mindful right now. So if we're living in that external and trying to please everybody on the outside and like show up and, this is the way I need to look and be and talk, right? Then we're always going to be in that state of anxiety, because we're always trying to exceed expectations, where those expectations are always moving to something more, different, bigger, smaller, whatever. So if I get to know myself with the practice of meditation on the inside, and I get to be okay with myself on the inside with the thoughts that I have, that can change, the mindset can change, the feelings that I have, and maybe the attachment that I have to some feelings. Oh, I got to make sure John's going to come back here. Turn on commenting. Right, I get to make changes by being more mindful, and that's the beauty of this practice of meditation and mindfulness, because I could see where I am, right, and that's me being in my body and knowing that I'm in my body. I think this is Mr. John. There he comes. Waiting for John to come back. And then if I know where I am by meditating and being in the moment, right, then I can make different choices to go elsewhere. So welcome back, John. I think the last thing you said kind of circles us back to, and imagine, and I think I hope I ran with it well, that whole meditation isn't working if my mind is wandering. So
yeah. I unfortunately did not hear what was covered.
It's all good.
I'm sitting here in my mobile office, my car, and I even have the little heat shield up in the window, and my phone got too hot. So
Shit. All right.
yeah, I've got the AC running now, and hopefully the audio is okay. But,
yeah, you sound great.
But here we are again, being uncut, unedited, raw, and unapologetic.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyhow, I was speaking with a guy that you did a podcast with yesterday. Noble Gibbons. Yeah, I think he's going to take this show. I shared it with him. It's
Great.
about
Yeah. Yeah.
emotional intelligence and feelings. And I was like, hey, dude, you should check out the podcast, but just be warned, it's not professional audio. We don't have like professional podcast mics. It's just two guys shooting the shit about mindfulness and meditation, feelings, emotions. And he's like, I'm in 100%. Maybe he's a future guest to have on if I'm not able to
Yeah.
be here with you. I think
Or
he'd be
vice
great.
versa, for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think he
yeah.
would be great.
So
I was on his he brought me in his podcast like 2 weeks ago. So that episode will be airing, in the future. So we'll
yeah,
both be on it eventually,
yeah,
which is great. It's nice to help and have a brother out there that is,
for sure.
working with mindfulness and mindset in for entrepreneurs. And it's, so much of what we're doing and what meditation is going to help you help anybody
Yeah.
do is upgrade your emotional intelligence, which has been always a greater predictor of success than IQ. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
100%.
good
And
thing
that
to know.
leads,
Please.
back into the my mind is racing or wandering, so I can't meditate. Well, first off, your mind it's made to do that. It's made to continually think, just like your heart is made to continually beat, and you're not going to be able to stop it from thinking. But what mindfulness or meditation can do for you is give you an anchor to focus on. So all that like scatterbrain thought, the monkey mind that we talk about, how your mind bounces around, you can calm it down. It doesn't stop it. It just calms it down. And when your mind does wander off, because it's going to wander off, you just bring it back. You bring it back to the breath. You bring it back to, the smells, the sights. If you're meditating with your eyes open, even if you're meditating with your eyes closed, you still see something. You just bring it back to whatever you're using as your anchor. And that very process of noticing that your mind is wandering, that is being mindful in and of itself.
Yeah.
And then bringing it back to the anchor, that is what's going to do some of the physiological rewiring in your brain. So you open up these new neural pathways, and then maybe you sit down to meditate for a minute, and that's how long it is before you notice your mind wandering off.
Yeah.
You do that for a week. Maybe the next week it's 3 minutes before your mind wanders off. And before you know it, it's 10 minutes and you're still focused on the breath. You're still focused on whatever anchor it is you're using. And you've now have developed a new neural pathway for meditation. And during that 10 minutes that you're focused on that anchor, your mind isn't wandering and you're able to calm down. Not just calm your thoughts down, but calm your physiological responses, your heart rate, your blood pressure, your respiratory rate. So it's all tied together. 100%. If your mind is wandering, you're human. You're a human being.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I'll add to that is also, I think I explained on the show before, I'm meditating with my niece and nephew twice a week. Amazing. Right. And I was explaining, and what I said earlier is like, we have what makes us human are basically three parts. We have our thinking, we have our mind, we have our emotions, we have our physical self. The emotional part is like a river that is like running underneath everything. I think we mentioned in the show, or I definitely, this has really been hitting me quite a while. It's like Dale Carnegie says, remember when dealing with people, you're not dealing with rational beings, you're dealing with emotional beings.
Right.
Okay. So, the way I explained to Ty and Andrew is we have this river that is just constantly going. But we want to be great. And then we have our boat, which is our canoe, if you want to be in a canoe, or a kayak. That's our body, right? And we sit in the seat of our consciousness in the middle. And what mindfulness is going to help us do is be better navigators down the emotional river of life. If we're constantly in a state of anxiety, that river is like a class 4 or 5 fucking, rapid. It's just like, it's going to keep coming and we're never going to get a break. If I meditate, when I breathe, I can calm down that river. I can become a better navigator with my oars and what's needed. I can and that's also, I can read, more of the river ahead of me. So that's what, and I think I like that metaphor in some ways, and it really hit my nephew who's 20. He's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You know that, yeah, the river of emotion. So that, so just I offer, that's, my nephew's amazing. What a great kid. He's a Marine. So
Yeah,
I'm so happy. Yeah, he's a Marine. He's in San Diego,
nice.
stationed
Marine
right
Corps
now.
birthday is this coming week, man. That's a big
Oh
thing for the
yeah,
Marine Corps, November
yeah.
10th.
Thank you for saying that. He told me about that. November 10th.
Yeah,
They usually have a big whole party, but because of
yeah,
COVID,
right,
they got to keep it small. But you're
sure.
so right, John. Awesome. Cool. So
Let's
I think we
debunk some
did
of these
pretty
other.
good. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's go. So let's go right into the self-indulgent piece.
Yeah, I laughed at the beginning of that, and I think you did too. I mean, that's like saying going to the gym or eating healthy is self-indulgent. Um,
Right.
and we've talked about this in the past too, is that if you're not taking care of yourself, you can't take care of others,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
those go hand in hand. So self-indulgent, it's definitely not. It is something
Yeah.
that is going to help you to feel better. Absolutely. That's great. That's good for you. But it's
Right.
also going to help you to be a better person. And that's going to be
Yeah.
good for those around you. So
Huge.
it gets your mind right for
Yeah.
dealing with other people. And we're going to come back to this whole anecdote of me just recently here in the DMV, just in the last hour.
Yeah.
I started to get anxious. I started to get frustrated.
Yeah.
And if I'd gone up to the counter with that like mentality, I'm sure things would have worked out in my favor
Yeah.
eventually, but
Yeah.
it would have been met with, pushback, rightfully so.
Right.
If I'd come up and like,
Yeah.
look, damn it, we've been here. Why don't you
Yeah.
fix this? Why don't you work
Yeah.
harder, faster? That's not going to
Yeah.
work, right?
Yeah.
So rather, taking some time, being mindful, meditating if that's what it takes,
Yeah.
that can reset your mind, and then you can talk more rationally, more
Yeah.
compassionately
Right.
to those around you. You can be more in touch with your emotions, and then also pick up on others. Like if you're in a relationship, you can pick
Mm.
up on their emotions and truly see what it is they're feeling and what it is they need. So
Yeah.
in no way is it self-indulgent. In no way.
No.
Yeah, you're going
Yeah.
to feel better about it. Yeah, that's great. But
Right.
you're also going to be a better person because of it.
Right.
So no way, man. No way. I
So good.
debunked that right
Yeah.
there. Like, I
I
don't know
know.
if you remember what's the scientists who always like Mythbusters.
Oh
They
yeah.
stamped the stuff. If you ever watch that show, they would
Yeah.
do,
I
do
have.
these things, and then they would have a big stamp, and it would just like say busted.
Yeah.
Well, I right now I'm envisioning this big,
Busted.
yeah, it's busted, debunked, man.
Debunk.
Yep.
Well, I want to just bring up a nice dichotomy about coming back to the DMV, like mindfulness in the moment, right? For you
Yeah.
and for everybody, it's like if I'm coming with stress and anxiety and like and the world is total shit, and I'm going to meet this person that needs to help me in the DMV, and I'm bringing that energy, and I'm feeling that energy right now. Like, how do you think the person's going to react?
Yeah.
I mean, most people will like meet that stress, have the same kind of like, you're a piece of shit attitude too, and then
Yeah.
and then then you have two people with stress, right?
Right.
When two
Right.
minds come together, a third is formed, right? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you're just filling that third mind with that connection between two people, and you're just creating a more stress around you, each of you, and then even further into the environment.
Yeah,
Or,
for the rest of the day, man. Like
yeah,
that DMV clerk. If I had ruined that DMV clerk's day, then the
right.
rest of the people that she saw, she would have been
Yeah,
rude to, or could have been.
yeah, yeah,
And then that could have carried on to every person that saw her, and then the
yeah,
ripple effect, like you said, now it's out in the world, and it's
right.
not
Yeah,
like we're not paying attention to how our single human being experience and what it is we do can affect everybody else's human being experience and what it is
yeah,
they feel.
yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah,
And I think, but then the flip side, if I'm coming more understanding, compassionate, like, low frequency in the sense of like, hey, we're all doing this together kind of thing. It's like normally, and I think I saw this yesterday a little bit, you're going to usually get better service. You're going to be met with kindness and compassion, and people really appreciate that. And they want to help you even more. Like I have this burrito shop down the street. And they have this great pork burrito, like really, really good.
Damn,
and I
man.
go there
Now,
once.
now I'm getting hungry.
I know. Fuck, it's so good, right? And I haven't eaten yet today because I'm fasting. It's like, oh my god. But like I said to the guy, I'm like, I love your burritos. Before he checks my tickets. You want everything? I'm like, I want everything on the burrito. Your burritos are so good. I think he gave me a giant burrito. He gave me a bigger burrito because I was
Yeah.
just appreciative. I was like, this one is giant. But
Yeah.
I think it was just being appreciative, and loving what is, just like I think it's an important distinction. But thank you for debunking
Sure,
the
man.
whole it's self-indulgent thing. It's like, and I think one thing I'll say about the self-indulgent, like if you have resistance to self-care and taking a moment to whatever it is, right? Meditation, take a bath, get a massage, go for a walk, you know what I mean? Like, relax, like have a good meal. It's like, there's a lot of shame that is around you preventing yourself from
Yeah.
being in a self-care kind of space, and that's like, and that's really, I not trying to say that judgingly to other people out there, but just to create more awareness. So what's your relationship out there, everyone's listening, to to actually self-care?
Yeah.
So actually,
Yeah, man.
then we got like a question here. Let's see. This is from Rianti. I'm going to meditate now. Okay, well, that's just someone, a fan out there saying she loves what we're doing. Thank you, Yanti, for that. She's an old friend and teacher of mine
Nice.
here in New York. She's in England right now with COVID. I think she's staying there. Love you, Yanti. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Let me do a little time check, John. We're doing good. So let's do one more and then we'll start to close. Yeah.
Sounds good, man. Sounds good.
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's do this. The meditation makes you weak. I think we're gonna need more time with that. So let's move that to next week. So stay
Okay.
tuned. That's a big teaser. And let's go with, instead, you must sit to meditate. So let's work with that one.
Yeah.
I'll jump in on that. Like meditation, like the actual practice of meditation, where you are seated and intentional, working on a particular anchor you mentioned earlier, which that anchor could be a mantra, it could be your breath, it could be scanning the body, it could be many, many different things that intention can be. And I would really suggest, like, I'm very more of a puritanical in this way. This is like kind of the only way that I get, is like, I think it's important when you meditate, is, especially when you're at home, is to create a space for meditation, and you continually go back to that space over and over and over again. We have our body has an amazing way of subconsciously knowing, like, this is my place that I meditate, this is where I go to bed, this is where I eat. And when we're putting our body in those states, our body is like, okay, like subconsciously, it's like, this is where I meditate. This is, and I think it's important to sit up. There's different ways to sit that could be more comfortable for you. Because I know meditation, like sitting on the floor, sitting cross-legged, especially for men, can be very daunting on the hips, and it could be very struggling. You can struggle a lot because your body might be like, oh, shoulders back. So there are different ways to sit that are helpful. Or if it's really hard to sit on the floor, I have a meditation cushion, or I use blocks, both, a blanket. Then it's okay to sit on a chair and meditate. And sit still. I suggest not like lounging and sitting on the couch and meditating, but assuming, like, because I don't like, it's like, how is that different than watching TV? Yes, you're going to meditate and do the best you can to focus, but I feel it's important to, you don't like sit and like slouch when you're like playing the piano, right? Or you sit up when you paint, right? So I think it's important to assume a physical posture and continually strengthen in that posture of seat, so you're finding, you're having like your meditation spine, and your body and your awareness becomes more focused when you're continually assuming a seat of meditation. So that, or sit in the seat with your feet on the ground, both feet on the ground, hands in your thighs. That could be a great way to meditate as well, if sitting in more traditional meditation seat is difficult for you. So,
Yeah.
what comes up for
Yeah,
you,
you
John?
used a term there that I think is critical here. Well, two terms.
Mm,
One being very intentional, and two, focus. And
yeah.
that's what meditation is. It's being very intentional
Hmm.
about focusing. And if you are sitting and you're slouching,
Hmm.
you're not able to be very focused. Your
Yeah.
body is going to go into a very relaxed state potentially, and just potentially fall asleep.
Right.
um,
Yeah.
or your body is not going to remind you when your mind does start wandering off, because now you're so relaxed, you're not
Yeah.
going to be able to focus and come back to that anchor.
Yeah.
That said, I don't believe that seated is the only way to meditate. I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
meditate when I'm seated.
Yeah.
Most of my meditations are seated, but I have done standing meditation.
Hmm.
I've done
Yeah.
walking meditation.
Yeah, that's true. Me too. Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
so those
Yes.
are,
Me
but
too.
again, the
Mm.
the distinguishing factor there between being mindful while you're standing or being mindful when you're walking versus meditating when you're walking
Mm.
is
Mm.
being very intentional about setting aside that time. So like I can walk, let's say, for example, I'm in New York City and I'm walking from my apartment to the subway.
Hmm.
Probably not going to meditate during that,
Right.
but
Yeah.
I could be very mindful. I'm like mindful
Hmm.
about, hey, which street I'm on, which subway line I'm heading toward, other
Yeah.
people around me, and I'm just paying
Yeah.
attention. I'm just paying
Right.
attention. That's
Right.
being mindful.
Mm.
Whereas if I wanted to do a mindful, or sorry, a walking meditation, perhaps
Hmm.
again for you being in New York City, for me being here in Colorado, find a place that I can walk quietly by myself, maybe in a garden somewhere, but being very intentional about setting aside that time to do
Hmm.
a walk and notice the walk, notice the steps that you're taking, notice
Boom.
the very feeling of your feet touching the
Right.
ground and coming up
Hmm.
off the ground,
Right.
noticing the feeling of the breeze blowing by your skin,
Hmm.
noticing the sounds. But again, that's mindfulness meditation, but
Hmm.
it is meditation and you're moving. And maybe
Right.
maybe it's just, hey, you set 10 feet. You're like, I'm going to walk from this spot to that spot and walk back and forth over and over and over for half an hour. And that
Right.
sounds a little weird, but I've done
Yeah.
it. And that
Right.
is a meditation. And
Yeah.
you're like focused, like you walk very slowly, very intentionally, focusing on every single step, focusing on
Yes.
every little part of every little step.
Yeah.
So it's there's definitely other ways to meditate besides sitting. Sitting is the more traditional way,
Right.
and whether you're
Right.
sitting, cross-legged in a lotus position, or sitting on a meditation bench or a meditation cushion, or if you're sitting in a chair. I mean, my knees and hips, I'm one of those guys that is there. I'm not going to be able to sit in a lotus position.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I sit in a chair. I sit in a
Right.
chair, but
Yeah.
I'm I'm focused on
Yeah.
my posture. I'm not stiff
Hmm.
and uncomfortable,
Hmm.
but I'm focused on my posture,
Yeah.
um, instead of just slouching in my chair. So, yeah, I think that's definitely debunked. Boom.
No, I think no, yeah, no, I like that. I like that, John, because like I and you bring up a great point about walking meditation, because maybe that's your entryway. Maybe that's your first steps, pun
Yeah.
intended, to mindfulness. And in a walking meditation, I'm just like you said, the intention, and that's what a meditation is being intentional with one thing, is just those feet walking on the ground, feeling the earth underneath you, feeling how that, the grounding, works all the way through your body, and taking step after step after step. And I've done retreats where you've done walking meditations for like a half an hour, like awesome,
Yeah.
like really great. I mean, because it's more dynamic, because you're not seated in one place, you're out and about in nature. And it's just a beautiful way to also meditate. But I think eventually what I would like to offer is, getting to uh, at least taking some time to actually sit in a meditation. So whether you're in a chair, whether you're more in a traditional meditation posture. I think that's a venture where I would encourage anybody that's listening to eventually work to that place. And what I'll say, for my final comment here is, it's nice to do like 3, 4, 5 minute meditation, but the more that you stay in meditation, the more you're going to grow roots right deep into to uncover more of your consciousness, to become more fully aware. And so, but it takes time, and you're not going to learn, to play the guitar by just doing 5 minute lessons. You have to really be immersive in learning those chords over and over and over and over again. And somebody has 20 minutes, a half an hour, an hour playing the chords. Meditation really gets very effective at the 20-minute mark or beyond. So I just want to invite people to, it's great to start walking meditation. A 5-minute seated meditation are great, but the longer you sit, the more these revelations that you're going to have about yourself and your own developing consciousness and mindfulness.
Yeah, and the physiology is going to get hardwired in the longer you sit as well. So that neuroplasticity is going to change the way you think and literally change the way your brain is wired.
And then how you show up in the world, then, how you show up. So awesome, John. Great stuff today. Debunking everything.
That's right, man.
It's so good. Well, let's, would you take us home with,
let's do it. I'll do a short one,
great.
Just based on time. All we're going to do is just focus on, we're going to do a really quick body scan, focusing on the physical sensations that we're experiencing in those different areas. So I'm sitting in the car. I know you're sitting there, Will, but if you're standing watching this, if you're laying down watching this, probably unlikely, but whatever position you want to go ahead and get into to get comfortable, go ahead and assume that position. And if you're comfortable doing so, I invite you to close your eyes, and we're going to start off with just some cleansing breaths, nice deep in through your nose and out through your mouth. Deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. One more, in through your nose and out through your mouth. And now just breathe naturally. And bring your awareness to the physical sensations in your feet. Perhaps you're wearing some shoes, or if you're barefoot, you can feel your feet on the ground. Notice that physical sensation. Think about how rarely do you note the sensations in your feet, even though they are there all day long, every day. How often do you actually notice the physical sensations in your feet? Slowly come up into your lower legs, your shins and calves. Notice any physical sensations there. Perhaps even play with flexing your calves so that you drive that physical sensation home. Flexing and relaxing, flexing and relaxing. Up past your knees, into your thighs and your hamstrings. Same thing. Perhaps notice your hands on your thighs and what that actually feels like. Or your hamstrings and your sit bones against the chair that you're seated in, or against the bed that you're lying in. Into the lower back and into the lower abdomen. A lot of tension is held in the abdomen. Perhaps you're feeling that tension manifesting as tightness or pain. And if you do notice that, don't judge it. It's there. Just be with it. Into the upper back and chest. Notice as you breathe in Your lungs are expanding your chest and your belly. Notice that physical sensation. Out into the shoulders and arms, all the way down into the fingertips. Perhaps you can actually notice the sensation of your hands on your thighs again, but this time feeling the thighs against your hands instead of your hands against the thighs. Back into your arm again, up into your shoulders, your neck. A lot of tensions held in the shoulders and your neck. Notice that. And up into the back of your scalp, over into your forehead, your jaw. Notice if there's any tightening of your jaw, and if so, go ahead and relax that jaw. Just let that jaw hang nice and relaxed. And then come into the front of your face, to your nose, and notice again here the physical sensation of the air passing your nostrils as you breathe in through your nose. And then notice that opposite physical sensation as you breathe out through your mouth. Notice the air passing your lips. One more deep cleansing breath in through your nose, noticing the breath as it passes your nostrils. And last breath out, noticing the air as it passes your mouth. And then when you're comfortable, I invite you to open your eyes or refocus your gaze. Invite some movement back into your body, your neck, your shoulders. And that's that.
Nice. That's excellent, Sean. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
You know, I got to say that little glitch at the DMV was just really, I think, enhanced the show. It's just nuts. You know what I mean? Mindfulness is meant to be. Yeah, exactly. It all is, John. Right? Yeah. And that's what mindfulness has always been teaching me. It's all meant to be. Yeah. So, all right, brother. Thank you so much. We're back, everybody out there, for tuning in. We're back next Friday at 12:30. You can listen to earlier episodes on our podcast, Men Talking Mindfulness, on all of our platforms out there that host podcasts. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, John, once again. And,
all right, brother.
We'll catch you guys next week. You're welcome.
Have a great weekend. Take care.
Peace.
Bye-bye.
Thanks again. Bye.
Thanks for joining Will and John on Men Talking Mindfulness. If you enjoyed the show, please like and share it with your friends and family, and please, we would appreciate a review too. Until next time, this has been Men Talking Mindfulness. Thanks for showing up.